Imagine being trapped in a non-place for nearly 2 decades, not because of a conviction, but because of a blind bureaucracy, a tangle of paperwork that strips you of your identity. This is the incredible and deeply melancholic story of Mehran Karimi Nasseri, the man who called a Paris airport terminal home for 18 years. It is the chronicle of loss, a disturbing exploration of what it means to have an identity, and the bitterest paradox, that of freedom. For nearly 2 decades, from 1988 to 2006, Mehran lived in the beating heart of Charles de Gaulle Airport, in a busy terminal, a man balanced between the world and its absence. Let's prepare to explore a life of endless waiting and a final choice that defies all logic. Mehran's story begins far away in Iran. Born into a wealthy family, one day he decided to leave his homeland to seek political asylum in Europe, chasing a dream of freedom and a new life. A path already tortuous and full of dangers, but nothing could have prepared him for what awaited him. Fate, or perhaps a cruel trick of bureaucracy, intervened in a way that would completely rewrite his life. During his journey, while trying to reach the United Kingdom, the unthinkable happened. His documents were lost. Some say they were stolen, others that he had sent them by post and never received them. The fact is that having arrived at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, he found himself without the legal requirements to enter France and paradoxically without the documents to be sent back. A bureaucratic typo, a loophole in the system, transformed him into a legal ghost. He was neither in France nor abroad. He was trapped in the international area of Terminal 1 in a timeless limbo, a man without a nation, without a passport, without a residence permit, imprisoned by a system that didn't know how to categorize him. Imagine waking up every morning to the same background hum, the flight announcements, the incessant coming and going of people rushing to their destinations. For Mehran, this was the only horizon. His life was reduced to an almost monastic routine dictated by the obsessive ticking of the airport clocks. His kingdom was a red bench, a small space that over time had become his silent throne, a mute witness to his thoughts and his solitude. It wasn't just a seat, it was his vantage point on the world, a stage where the human comedy played out. Every day, Mehran was there. He avidly read the newspapers and books that were given to him, devouring stories and news from the outside world that was denied to him. He wrote, jotting down dreams and ambitions in notebooks that became his memory and his dialogue with himself. Around him, a continuous flow of lives in transit, fleeting glimpses of existences that whizzed by, indifferent or curious. Businessmen in suits and ties, families on vacation, young adventurers with backpacks, all with a goal, a destination, a place to go. Not him, he was the only perpetual passenger, a fixed point in a universe of movement. He observed, a bit like a sidewalk philosopher, the nuances of modern life that passed before him without ever truly touching him. His days were a constant exercise in survival but also in dignity. He washed in public bathrooms, his appearance always well groomed, his few belongings neatly arranged next to his bench. Yet, in this desert of bureaucracy and indifference, an unexpected oasis of humanity flourished. Airport employees, perhaps initially just curious, gradually became intrigued by its history and its incredible resilience. Despite the rigidity of the system, these people, with simple but very powerful gestures, took care of him. They brought him hot meals from the airport restaurants, gave him books and magazines to break the monotony, offered him a little company, exchanging a few words, a smile. Mehran was no longer just a problem, but had become Sir Alfred, as he was affectionately nicknamed, a familiar face, almost a silent mascot of the terminal. These acts of kindness transformed his place of captivity into something different, almost a small community. For the airport workers, Mehran was not just a refugee, but a man who had found a way to exist in unthinkable circumstances, and somehow his presence gave a different meaning to their very work. At the beginning, no one would have ever imagined that this temporary situation would last for almost 2 decades. That red bench became the center of his world, a precarious point of balance between the real world and its total absence, a symbol of human tenacity in the face of the absurd. But the most surprising chapter in Mehran's story comes in 1999, 11 years after his forced arrival. After years of legal battles, appeals, and growing media hype, the French authorities finally grant him political asylum. The documents and permits arrive. Freedom. Mehran could finally leave that airport, set foot on French soil, start a normal life, rebuild his home, find a job, make new friends. The golden cage was open and the way to the outside world was clear. And it is here that the story takes an unexpected, almost crazy turn, a twist that left everyone speechless. Mehran Karimi Nasseri, the man who had wanted freedom more than anything else, the man who had fought against bureaucracy for years, chose not to leave. He refused the documents. He didn't want to leave the terminal. What had happened? It seemed that 18 years of routine, of dependence on that safe and predictable micro world, had shaped his mind irreversibly. The outside world, with its uncertainties, its deafening noises, its responsibilities, had become an unknown and terrifying territory. That terminal, with its red bench, its friends among the employees, its established habits, was now the only home she knew, the only place where she felt safe. The paradox of freedom had manifested itself in all its cruelty. After having desired it so much when it was offered to him, he no longer knew how to recognize or accept it. His gilded cage had unexpectedly become his comfort zone, it had become the airport. And there he remained, choosing his self imposed prison des choses until health forced him away in 2006. Mehran Karimi Nasseri's story leaves us with a profound reflection on home, identity, and how circumstances can shape not only our lives but our very essence. It's a modern fable about the absurdity of the system, human resilience, and the surprising kindness that can blossom in the most unexpected places. A man who lived life in eternal transit, teaching us that sometimes the greatest freedom can be the most frightening of all. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories.